For those of you who are familiar with my work, I published a book back in 2018 titled The Spectrum. In there, I wrote about one gentleman named Gary Sudbrink. Now, Gary's case is very interesting because of the overlap into several aspects of what I call high strangeness, some of which involve UFOs, doppelgangers, and of course, the most mysterious of all, the Men in Black. But perhaps what makes the Gary Sudbrink case particularly important is that it involves a series of strange phone calls that he and his family received in Long Island, New York in the winter of 1993. These phone calls could be the very first, and to my knowledge, only ever recorded instance of the voice of the Men in Black speaking to another human being. And thankfully, for both you and me, these phone calls were in fact recorded. So you will get a chance to hear those calls in their entirety, as well as the complete story behind them from the key witness himself, Mr. Gary Sudbrink. You are listening to Terra Signals, presented by Normal Paranormal. I am your host, Justin Bamforth. From eerie voices of the dead to otherworldly entities reaching out to abductees, the telephone seems to be at the heart of a lot of high strangeness experiences. And one such person who received a series of very strange phone calls is Gary Sudbrink. Now, Gary's case is quite interesting because it appears that a lot of his family has had UFO sightings, yet he himself has not. And yet, he himself seems to be at the center of a series of peculiar events, most of which took place in the Long Island, New York area in February of 1993. At that time, Gary was an Air Force captain assigned to medical pharmacy work in San Antonio, Texas. On Sunday, February 7th of that same year, he planned an unannounced surprise trip to visit family and friends back home in Long Island. Did you tell anybody you're going to take a trip, or, you just kind of planned it? It was like a spur of the moment type thing, right?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the Air Force, but I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't actually have my real name on the ticket. But anyway, I was going back because this person I was dating, we broke up, and I figured I'd go back, and multiple reasons. That was one of them. But not the main reason. It was just, I would say, 50% of the reason.
Oh, okay. So that's news to me. So it wasn't just going to see your family. You were trying to make amends with.
At that time, if I remember correctly, that was one of the reasons.
Okay. Were you stressed about this? Was this like a?
As far as I can remember, yeah.
At the airport where Gary waited to depart, he took note of two men that both initiated a conversation with him at different times. For whatever reason, he cannot recall exactly what they talked about, but he does remember pieces of it.
The first guy I met at the airport, he had brown hair, like an overcoat, and he was just starting a casual conversation. He was at a different table. I was sitting down. And as they started calling the rows out, he had a little notepad, a little notepad you put in your pocket. And he said he wanted to write my name down. And then he said, oh, don't worry, you won't get in trouble. Now, I don't know why he said that. I thought that was kind of odd.
Don't worry, you won't get in trouble, which put Gary on alert since he could have gotten in trouble. After all, he may have possibly forgotten to fill out a leave slip with his unit. Standard protocol required a person to fill out a leave slip whenever they were going to be out of the area, even if they weren't working during that time. Plus, at that time, he wore a sweater over top of a military uniform, which did have his name, but he wasn't comfortable to reveal any info to a total stranger, just in case. After Gary boarded the plane, which was bound for JFK, a second man with blonde hair sat next to him.
So then when I finally got to my seat on the airplane, a different person sat next to me. I think there's one seat to my right, and I'm at the window. Then there's seats in the middle of the plane, and then another aisle. As far as I remember, there's two aisles, which is extremely unusual because I don't remember ever being on a plane with two aisles. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, this guy sits next to me, and he starts this similar conversation, just casual questions and things. And then a person gets up. The person whose real seat is there gets over there and says, you're in my seat, so he has to move. But he moves in the center rows. There's a row to my right anyway, but parallel to me. And then after, few back and forth things, and he has to get out of that seat now and go to his real seat. But first, he stands behind me because there's an emergency door behind me, and before he sits into his real seat, he wants to write my name down. And I don't know if he had a notepad like the first guy because he was behind me. I don't know if he might have. I don't remember. Anyway, he was standing behind me. So anyway, he still wanted to know my name. I don't think he said specifically my last name. He just said as far as I remember, he wanted to know what my name was.
The stewardess came over for a second time and asked the man to be seated in his correct seat, but he insisted to find out Gary's name for whatever reason before he left. Perhaps in an attempt to appease the man as well as the stewardess, Gary finally did reveal it to him, but the man didn't hear well and asked him to repeat it. Still uneasy about the whole affair, Gary opted not to, and the man left for his actual seat, which was further back in the plane. After the encounters, Gary had a strange feeling that maybe the men planned to break into his apartment. Between the two of them, they knew he'd be out of town for a few days. So upon arrival in New York, Gary called his apartment manager to check up on the place while he was gone.
So, I started thinking, two people in a row like that? Something, this probably sounds like a setup to me. So between all the questions, I figured they might be able to figure out that I lived in San Antonio and I was leaving. Well, obviously they know I'm leaving on an airplane. So I'm thinking, well, they probably know I'm going to be gone and I live in San Antonio and they can go take advantage. So this is what I'm thinking. Because I don't know what else to make of it, Initially, it didn't seem like anything, but, because it was only after I thought about it that I thought maybe they were going to break into my apartment, even though I have nothing to take. When I look back at it, it's like, what the hell? Even if they do break in, then nothing to lose. But
this was in the days, obviously, way before social media. Had you ever experienced this before? Like people walking around with notepads, like asking information like this?
No, nothing like that.
So did these two men, did they identify themselves as being part of any organization or any affiliation at all?
No, I didn't ask them. It was just unexpected, so I didn't. I mean, when looking back at it, you wish you can handle it. I mean, we should have asked them, like, it's just.
To your best recollection, did you remember seeing these individuals interacting with other individuals before they came up to you?
No, I didn't see anybody. Well, the first guy, when I got on the plane, I don't know what happened before or after. And then the blonde guy on the plane, I just know he went back to his seat, which was a little further back. So I don't know. He wasn't sitting around asking anybody else what their name was.
So do you think that second guy was on the plane, was going to take that same flight that you were taking?
I mean, he had a ticket, so.
Or this is your assumption that he had a ticket? I mean, you never saw the ticket, right?
No, but he was on the plane and he had to go to his assigned seat. So.
But in that day, back then, from my understanding, you could just board an airplane, right? I mean, it wasn't like the security we have today.
I don't know how I got away with putting a different name on there. I can't. I still have the receipt for the airline. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You want me to go get it? I can go show it to you.
Was that possible to get away with? I mean, obviously you did get away with it, but were other people, could anybody just like put a fictitious name? I mean, they never checked any ID when you boarded a plane. I don't know.
I just showed them my ticket. So it's not like they asked for a license to compare the two.
You put a fictitious name on there. Why again?
As far as the only thing I can think of is that since I didn't take leave, technically if you're going certain miles away distance, even though you have off, and I guess I was in what they call the, I don't know if it made a difference, this readiness thing where you have a bag packed with whatever, I don't remember what was in there, but some mobility group or something like that, I think they called it. I don't know if that made a difference, but I think regardless of that, you have to, depending on how far it is, how many miles, even if you have off, you're supposed to take leave if you're going like 1,000 miles away or whatever it is. I guess in case you have problems getting back. So I didn't want to waste my vacation days.
Aha. Okay.
I'm like, I'm not going to waste my vacation day. I already have off and I'm not supposed to use my leave. It's like, no way. So,
Other people did this.
yeah, I met a girl at the airport one time and she's like, don't tell anybody you saw me here. I didn't take leave, because she already had off too, I guess. And nobody wants to waste their leave like that.
Interesting. Okay, so that answers that question. So did it ever occur to you then that the first individual who said, "Don't worry, you won't get in trouble," do you think he knew?
No. Because I was wearing my Air Force uniform and I had a sweater over it. And normally there's a patch at that time, the Velcro patch, but obviously I wasn't wearing the patch.
So you just had the sweater over it.
Yeah, so because the shirt would have a name tag, a little rectangular name tag. So obviously if my name was on there, he could have read it. So
Once Gary arrived in New York, he and his father met with a UFO investigator to discuss some of the sightings that Gary's father and his uncle had seen previously.
it was kind of like a regular saucer, from what you told me, except the top was raised a lot more than you would think. It kind of looked like a hat with a black band around it. So you figure like yeah. So it'd come out like this, then go up like that, and then there was a black band around the raised base area, which is kind of unusual, yeah.
And this was, you said, 30, 40 feet away?
Yeah, he said he was stopped, and he's looking over to his left, and the thing it literally just blinked out like you would turn off a light switch, basically. And he had his, one of those giant ass, I should have said, one of those big camcorders, as far as I can remember. I think it was one that was from the mid 80s or something. I don't remember. I don't know. It was probably one of those big ones. But at the time, he didn't even have the thought to try to record it, so.
Very weird, yeah, because a lot of times people say, when it comes to this phenomenon, oh, where's the evidence, right? Where's the video? Where's the photo proof? Well, sometimes when these things happen, it's so unbelievable that that's the last thing on your mind, right? Because you're so in all of this, and it's so short.
Yeah, I don't think he would have had time even I think the thing would have purposely disappeared on him.
Now I see why Coleman von Kavesky would be interested in this. They met with a UFO investigator named Coleman von Kavesky, who was the director of Intercontinental UFO Research and Analytic Network at that time. He was the unofficial spokesperson for the UFO hearings held at the UN in 1978, and a good friend of the Prime Minister of Grenada, Sir Eric Gary, who had arranged for these UFO hearings to take place. After returning from the meeting, Gary called up his longtime friend Mike, who had no prior knowledge of him being in town. At least that's what Gary thought.
I called him a day after I landed.
What did he tell you when he picked up the phone?
We just started talking, and then he said, you sound better. You sound like you had a cold yesterday. And then I said, well, I'm just calling you the first time now. And then that's how things started,
Now, the impersonator also stated to Mike that he had flown in through LaGuardia Airport when Gary had actually come in through JFK. But when you hear this from Mike, what are you thinking? Thinking he's losing his mind, or are you thinking like he's misunderstood? Or
no, I was more like, I don't know what to make of it. You're just trying to figure out, it doesn't make sense. And plus it's happening live, so you don't know what the hell to think. And then I'm 2 seconds away from hanging up, I hear this call waiting coming in.
So Gary picked it up, and a deep mechanical voice greeted him on the line. Gary instinctively pressed record on the nearby answering machine to document it. Here's that first call, already in progress after Gary pressed the record button. Both his mother and father were present in the room.
Yes. I'll tell you who it is.
Hello?
Yeah. Do you want to speak to him?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Yeah, who's this? Steven? Are you playing games with me or what? Huh? Steven, if you're playing games, I'm going to kick your ass.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
Huh?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Yeah, this is you, Steven, you idiot. You're pissing me off. Jerk. I'm going to get you on... Let's see what it says. Review. One new call out of area. Is Steven out of the area?
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Wait, say that again?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Wait, hold on. Is Steven out of the calling area or what? What do you mean you don't know? He's in Queens. Well, who are you talking to? I don't know who the fuck.
Hello?
Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Who is this? Sounds like a freaking robot.
So
Hello?
how long are you going to be back from Texas?
What was that again, sir?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Oh, be quiet, huh? Sorry, would you see that again? Hello? Being impersonated by what voice?
Hello?
Yeah. Hello?
Is Gary Sudbrink there?
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, what is your question? I'll answer it.
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long?
You're being impersonated by the other voice.
Right. When am I coming back? Is that your question? Okay, there was a break. Hold on. You want to know when I'm coming back to Texas? Oh, is that your question?
So how long are you going to be back from Texas?
How long am I going to be back from Texas? That question doesn't make any sense.
By the other voice.
Okay. I'll be coming back eventually. I can't tell you when. You should know that question, the answer to the questions, because you seem to know more about me than I do. You know what I'm saying?
Are you an intergalactic person?
Are you a space alien?
Sounds like he hung up.
I can't believe this.
He hung up, Gary.
See if he comes back.
All right, I'll hang up.
Oh my God, man. I'm calling Mike back.
Yeah, so the phone calls that essentially changed your life. This is, folks, these phone calls are bizarre. And fortunately, you recorded these calls, but I never got a chance to ask you, like, what made you record these calls? How did you start recording these calls?
I had to run into the living room and press the record on the answering machine because I think it automatically picked up, or maybe not. I just know I had to hit record. My friend's telling me that I called the other day when I know I didn't call, And then as I'm hanging up, I get this phone call that says I'm being impersonated. So right away, I want to record this. So that's when I hit record on the answer machine.
About how much of this other call had come through at this point before you hit record on the answering machine? Was it like several seconds, several minutes?
No. Let me think. I would say at most maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds.
So that much time was taking place that we cannot account for. We don't know what was being said at this time.
I'm assuming it was the same as the beginning. I must have said something like "hold on," and then run to the to the living room and hit record on it. So,
according to the timestamp on this recording, this first phone call comes in. This is on Monday, February 8th, 1993, at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Did you call Mike back after this?
I don't know if he was still on hold. He must have hung up. Yeah, I think he hung up because when I got the first call, there was a call waiting coming in. Yeah, so when that hung up and I started dialing, I guess, I must have, he hung up, so I called him back. I did talk to him after that.
Do you remember his reaction to any of this when you brought it up?
Yeah, I remember going to his house with the tape from
Really?
from the what do you call it, the answering machine, and I put it in his stereo. Who else was in the house at the time? I don't know. He was just like, I don't know. I played it for him, and he was kind of like, he didn't know what to make of it. He was just like, yeah, that's weird type of thing. And, he didn't dig into it more, like ask me a lot of questions. And it was just like, he accepted it, and that was it. It's kind of like telling somebody you saw a ghost in your house, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever you say, one of those type things,
Yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do with it. Okay, weird experience happened. Great, and a lot of times, like, I think investigators forget that, right? They forget that the people who are experiencing high strangeness, they're just normal people. They're not accustomed to this, right? Their first instinct is not to take notes, to log date and time, to log all this stuff, try to dig further. That's just, okay, great. That's nice and all, but let's move on to something else less spooky, right?
Yeah. I mean, as far as I can remember, I told him I didn't call him until that night. So that's as far as I can remember. I don't recall his reactions being anything to write home about. It was just like pretty mundane as far as I can remember. But nothing stands out. Yeah.
You and I have shared a few text messages over the years about this. And one of the things that you had brought up to me at one point was, if you had not made that call to Mike, do you think we'd be here talking about this at all? Do you think this strange entity would have come through to begin with?
I personally, I think they can put thoughts into your head, and you think it's your own thought. So that kind of gives them a heads up, like you saying I should call, and you think that you thought it yourself, and so you call, and it kind of guarantees their outcome in a way. Not guarantees, but makes it a lot more probable.
I mean, because it's just really interesting that you're on the phone with Mike, who said that you had called prior, and here is this unknown entity coming through saying that you're being impersonated by the other voice. So either this entity was listening to your phone call, or this entity staged that phone call, or this entity knows about this phone call.
It had to be listening, because the timing of it is impossible to be random.
And you told me that you were 3 seconds away from hanging up with Mike when this first call came through, correct?
Yeah, because I was about a second, and then the call waiting came in. So, I mean, the phone didn't ring because I was on the phone with him. So that kind of is a little bit odd too.
Now, Gary has two brothers, Stephen, the older one, and Brian, the younger one. At the moment he received the first call, Gary thought it was Stephen playing a prank, as we heard. You keep saying that in the phone call. You're like, Stephen, is this you? Why do you think it's Stephen?
I didn't know what else to make of it. Plus, I think I might have spoke to him earlier in the day before the phone calls, and I did. When it happens, you don't know what to make of it. I mean, there's this part of you that's in disbelief. So, I figured, since he called earlier that day, that maybe, because you're not thinking straight. I mean, how would he know? I don't know. It's just one of those things,
Did Stephen do anything to you that would make you think that this was a prank?
No, I just didn't know what to make of the situation. I mean, it's just all spur of the moment. So
Stephen was not known to be a prankster, yet there was another strange impersonating occurrence which happened to involve both Stephen and Gary a few years before these phone calls.
this is what he told me after this happened. At the time, he never. You think he would have told me like the day of, So he said, with the day he got married, basically. So it had to be after 91 when I got in to the Air Force. He said, and the wedding, of course, on Long Island somewhere. But he said I drove up to the side of his car made faces at him and drove off. And this was the car I guess I had, the one I was using in San Antonio, which was the same car I had before I drove out to San Antonio. At least that's what he told me at the time. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of weird. So I'm thinking, well, why didn't you just, but then again, I guess he's got other things to think about. He's going to have to tell me, I mean.
Right, yeah.
But this came up, after the phone calls, he told me that. So.
That is really strange. I mean, that would, in essence, be a doppelganger experience if he really thought he saw you driving a car that you did drive.
I just have to take his word for it, yeah. And what's weird is like, it's making faces kind of try to get his attention, But, after all these years, after reading about this Men in Black stuff, a lot of times I have a feeling they purposely act off so that you notice it and something's strange,
Do you believe that this is what we're hearing in these phone calls, that this is the Men in Black?
Yeah, originally I didn't know what to, I figured it had to have something to do with the phenomena UFOs, because the instance with my dad and the helicopter flying around 20 feet off the ground outside my apartment complex, that's not normal.
Yeah, let's get into that real quick since you did mention that a couple times. The helicopter incident that you experienced, this was before all of this. This was your first high strangeness event, and this happened in Texas, right?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, first thing I heard was this loud rotor of a helicopter, and I went to the sliding door with the blinds on, and I look out, and I see this helicopter, which is outside the gated apartment complex, and it's 30 feet above the ground, but it's outside the apartment complex is an undeveloped field. It's just an empty field, so it's not like it was over something, a structure or anything. So, I'm looking at this, and I've decided, I better get my glasses. I go to the kitchen over there in the apartment to get my glasses, and as far as I can remember, it was gone, but I don't remember it taking off. Like, how you can hear the sound take off.
Yeah. I
just remember going back there, and it wasn't there anymore, towards the sliding door. And I see some guy working on his car, like cleaning it or something. I don't know what he was doing. He was kneeling down. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, I should go out and ask him did he see what I was seeing? And then I figured, that's so stupid. So, it's like asking someone, do you see that person over there? Of course he's going to see him. So I'm thinking, why ask them to be something so freaking obvious?
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything, but when I think back of it, I should have at least heard the stupid helicopter fade away. At least you don't just walk over and all of a sudden it's gone. But I don't recall ever hearing it fade away, which is kind of weird. I mean,
what do you think it was?
I don't know. I should have heard something fade away as it took off. But when I think back, I don't recall that ever happening. But then that was my dad had an incident on Long Island next to our house with a helicopter. And I think one time it was just him. And the second time it was, I guess the second more dramatic time was when my younger brother was there. So I wasn't there to see anything. But yeah, that helicopter happened to come right above our neighbor's house in the backyard.
Yeah, they both shared that experience with me. And it is remarkable.
Especially how low it was too. And nobody came out of their houses.
There's something with this helicopter aspect to the UFO phenomenon and to these high strangeness experiences that I think is not really looked at very much by investigators because it's so bizarre, so weird.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, I mean, was there really a helicopter there, or are they just beaming this into your brain or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a possibility. And the reason why that does hold some weight is when I talked with your one brother, Brian, and your dad about their helicopter experience, what's fascinating is both of them remember a different type of visual for the helicopter.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Yeah. Your dad remembers seeing a Vietnam era type of helicopter with a big bubble in front. And he said a very stiff driver that looked like a mannequin.
Right. I remember that. Yeah.
But then Brian remembers, he says, it was like a Bell Ranger type of helicopter.
Huh.
So, and I heard them, I mean, they were arguing about this for quite some time.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
They both were very certain about what they saw, but here they are very firm in their own respective accounts. They didn't change their story. I mean, this is what your dad saw. This is what Brian saw. Even though they argued about it, they didn't change their opinion about what they saw. And I find that very interesting
Yeah.
because that kind of reflects like the aspects of the paranormal, where you could have a team of investigators at a haunted location. One person sees a glowing orb, another person sees a full-bodied apparition, another person doesn't see anything but hears something.
Oh, right.
And then you have a fourth person doesn't experience anything whatsoever.
That reminds me of that Fatima sighting with different people. Yeah. Yeah, they saw different things too, actually.
It could be that this phenomenon plays off of our perceptions. What about you? Have you ever seen a UFO?
No, I haven't seen anything that would look like a UFO. But I did see one time when I was in England. I looked up and I saw something, a light that just went across the whole freaking sky. I just happened to notice it, and it just covered the whole sky like in less than 2 seconds. And that was it looked pretty damn far away too. But I mean, still to cover the whole field of view. I mean, that's pretty amazing. But other than that, no, I haven't seen anything. Especially that something solid.
Let's return to this strange phone call in 1993. A few minutes after the first phone call, the phone rang a second time.
What is your question? Yes, speaking. Yes. Can I answer any questions for you?
Are you back from Texas?
Not back yet, no.
How long are you going to be back from Texas?
Let me answer. First, you tell me, where are you calling from?
This is Gary Sudbrink.
Yeah, why don't you tell me where you're calling from?
Who is this?
What do you mean, who is this? You should know who it is. It's me, Gary. Wait, let me ask you this question. Where are you calling from? Okay, I'll be back. Excuse me? I can't hear too well. Yeah, it is a full moon out. That's true. Could you identify yourself? Identify yourself. Why are you calling me? Excuse me? I cannot hear too well.
Get on the other phone, it's better.
Hold on, let me switch phones.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Now, who are you?
Keep an eye in the sky, he said.
Keep an eye in the sky?
Yeah.
Ask him, can I talk to him?
Shh, shh.
I had a sighting over.
Okay, hold on. Say that. Repeat that again. Please repeat. Okay.
Near Orion.
Near Orion.
Holy mackerel. Tonight or guess on when?
The full moon.
They told
So, double from here
Repeat.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
Okay, repeat last word. I'm hearing static.
Tell him I like to talk to him.
He hung up.
He hung up.
Hello?
So that's it for call number 2. At this point, are you no longer thinking that this is a prank?
Yeah, not after that. You know.
Because you sound pretty serious during this
Yeah.
call.
Yeah, and showing a double of me. You know, I don't know what. Assuming it's a doppelganger thing. Yeah. Hopefully, it's nothing bad. I mean, if they show a double of me, you know, I don't know what the hell that means.
They mentioned, the caller or the entity mentions keeping an eye on the skies. Did you guys go outside and look up? And
Yeah, I did. I remember going outside. Okay, I'm just thinking, oh, where's the Orion? You know, I went out the front door, and I remember looking. I mean, I didn't spend much time outside, and I didn't see anything. But then again, I only went outside for like looked outside for 5 seconds, and maybe I should have stayed
it's
out
the winter,
longer.
right? Yeah,
That's
it's
true.
cold.
Yeah. But I did walk out. Yeah.
What are you making of this at this point in time? Like, obviously, you're not thinking it's a prank, but
Yeah. I mean, this is. I'm thinking, how could it be a double of me? You know. And then, you know what's weird is that after that movie came out, what's it called again, with John Keel?
the Mothman Prophecies.
Yeah. When that movie came out, I decided to buy the book. And as I'm reading the book, I find out the same thing happened to John Keel. I couldn't believe it. You know, I was really, really shocked. So in his situation, he said he calls someone, right? And the other guy says, oh, you sounded drunk the other day when you called. Like, drunk or something. You know, here's another setup, right? Like a reason for him to say that you called. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like a setup. So I'm telling you, this is amazing. So, I mean, something made him say, oh, you sounded drunk the other night when you called. And then he says, I never called you that day. Okay, so if he sounded normal, nobody would find out, right? You wonder how they set this up. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I figured whatever happened to Keel, whatever he was dealing with, I'm dealing with. The same thing, because the method is exactly the same. And I know he had reports of, I think his friend was, or even himself, people showed up, they said it was him. You know, he had this, there was instances where him and one other researcher had a doppelganger incident.
Yeah, this is something that you hear about from time to time, but it is very rare.
Yeah.
And it is even rarer that you're able to record it as it's happening.
Yeah. When I found out this movie came out, I wanted so bad to get in touch with Keel, but apparently he wasn't, you know, talking to people, and I guess he was mentally wasn't in a good spot or something. I never got that chance because I know after I read the book, I realized he dealt with it. And somewhere where I heard he wasn't able to record anything, but when he got the phone calls, he said it sounded like it was speeded up instead of mine slowed down. And one of his books, I don't remember which one, it said he said it was like a record sped up record, which is kind of weird because my situation was the opposite of being sped up, you know.
Where did you go with these tapes? I mean, did you take them to anybody?
No. At the time, my dad contacted Linda Howe, and that's how I got on the Art Bell show.
Okay.
And then after that, pretty much nothing until you came along. So it was been pretty much buried that whole time. And then I happened to mention it to, what's her name? The Virginia Moof, Sue Switek, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I went to one of the meetings, and then pretty much that opened up everything.
Yeah, it's a really remarkable case, just because of how bizarre it is. And but it leads me to believe that other people are experiencing this phenomenon of these voices, these strange calls.
Because when the first time it was on Art Bell, I remember Linda Howe said she got one phone call I don't know, she said fax, you know, at the time, anyway, so you got a communication that one other person related to it, and they weren't from California. They had a similar situation, so it must be pretty goddamn rare if one other person had a similar situation.
Linda Howe spoke with Art Bell in 1995, so it wasn't long after this event took place. And I remember in my notes, I have that she referenced an abductee, I think, who was in Bud Hopkins' Intruder's book.
That's right, yeah.
And she said in that case, the phone call voice was very low and unintelligible.
Yeah,
and
that's right,
after her baby was born, the baby made the same strange sounds for several months. So that's really bizarre stuff.
Yeah, she's one of those famous cases. I forget her name, but
yeah, she said it was Kathy Davis. Her real identity is Debbie Jordan.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so I mean, it's happened to other people, but not very often. You know?
No, not very often at all. But here it is happening to you. But to your knowledge, you don't consider yourself an abductee, do you?
No, I don't have any memories of anything like that. The only thing, makes me wonder is when I was in San Antonio in the apartment, I don't know why I was kind of paranoid to sleep at night, but other than that, I don't have any, I don't recall abductions or anything. But I just know I was so paranoid for somebody walking in, coming into my room, that I would put, it was kind of unusual. I take a cookie pan, put it on the door, and balance pennies on the handle. So if somebody turned the door, the pennies would fall down and make a racket. I was that goddamn paranoid, yeah.
Wow. Wait, was this after these phone calls that you became this paranoid?
Yeah, I don't know if it was before or after or the time period. I guess it was probably after, if I had to guess. I don't tell you the truth. I don't remember the time and how long it lasted. I don't even remember that, But I just know it was a perfect alarm because I didn't have anything high tech. So I sometimes it was a pain in the ass to balance those pennies because you got a round handle, and it's not easy balancing pennies on a round handle. I had to sit there and like, okay, hold it real still, and then walk away. So if I knew somebody had to turn it, but these freaking aliens, they probably get through that anyway. So, so if I was, maybe subconsciously that's why I was doing that. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
All right. Orion, does that have a deeper meaning to you?
Not personally, but you know what I found out later is when I got the phone call, it wasn't until about a year later that the book, The Orion Connection, came out with the pyramids representing the Orion constellation, if you look at it from above, which I thought that was pretty interesting. Because at the time, I didn't know of any connection between Orion and aliens and all that crap. So, I guess now I do, but, supposedly that's where the reptilians come from. But when this happened, I didn't have a clue the significance of it. To me, it didn't mean anything.
Now, Gary's father and uncle were en route to visit the location of another strange incident in 1988. There was a radio tower that had collapsed at the Green Bank Telescope Observatory in West Virginia. They speculated a UFO cut it down with a laser, so they went there to get the straight story. Instead, they see a UFO while driving. One of the major achievements of that particular telescope at Green Bank was it was the first to discover a helical magnetic field in interstellar space, coiled like a snake around a gas cloud in the constellation of, Orion. Later that same night, the caller phoned back a third time.
Okay. Yeah, it's taking time from the talk. Who is this? Stephen, this is not funny,
Brian, it's not Steven.
What do you mean, Brian?
I mean,
Gary.
How do I know it's not Stephen?
It's not Steven. Hello? I had a UFO experience in West Virginia, which you probably know. And I know that you're into an intergalactic person. Can you speak a little louder? Sir? Can you speak a little louder? Louder?
Let me speak to him, Dad. I guess I don't know what his...
All right, I'll hang up so you can talk to me. He wants to talk to you.
Okay. Hello, can I help you?
Hello,
Yes.
Gary Sudbrink.
Yes, that's me. Yes, could you please identify yourself? Identify.
Oh, you're back from Texas.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm in Texas right now. Oh, he asked me a question. No, I'm in New York right now. You know that. Why are you asking me such a question? Yes. Stephen, if this is you, I swear to God, I'm going to be pissed. Huh? I'm trying to listen to him. Excuse me? Okay. Eventually I'll be back from Texas. Could you speak more? Please speak more. I guess it's not Stephen. I believe it because I'm getting static.
Stephen was not raised 3 times.
Let me go on this phone because I can never hear on this phone. Hold on. Okay. Okay, please speak. Hello?
Keep an eye on the sky.
Okay. Should I go out right now?
Right.
Right now?
The full moon.
Okay, see, I'm not sure where Orion is now, but we'll go outside.
Show double from you.
It would show double from me. Repeat that again?
So in the call, you're going back to Stephen again. Why?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just you don't know what to make of what's going on. I guess. I mean, I'm trying to put myself back into that place. Yeah, it's just you don't know what to make of it. It's only when you have time to think about it, look back. But it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
You just the way you act, you can't help it. I mean, it's spur of the moment, and
Right.
nobody knows what's going to happen, and then you look back and you're like, oh my god.
All right. So that's the last call for that night. How do you remember how late you guys stayed up thinking that there could have been another one? Or were you anticipating another one?
Well, if we got 3 the other, no, we was probably kind of up, kind of late, but I don't remember how late it was.
How can you go to sleep after something like this, right?
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, just the excitement itself. I mean, would keep you awake.
Yeah, especially with your dad going through having all of his UFO experiences, talking with that investigator. At the time, did you think that this could have been related to him, not so much you?
Not really, because it kept asking for me, and then with these 2 guys on the plane and the helicopter thing, that never really occurred to me.
When that helicopter incident happened to you at your apartment in Texas, how close in proximity to these events was that one?
It was definitely less than a year. So maybe the shortest interval would probably be maybe 3 months, something like that, if I'm guessing. or maybe 2. I don't know. I mean, and it wasn't like days or weeks or anything. It had to be at least 2 months, probably shortest interval, probably at most no more than. I can't see it happening more than a year. I don't see how that's possible.
So let's get into the doppelganger aspect, because you mentioned what Stephen experienced.
Yeah.
What about you? You've had some doppelganger experiences. There was an incident that you shared with me a long time ago about you as a child.
Oh, that's when I was. Yeah, that's when I was like, I don't know, maybe 5 years old or even something like that. It was at a Sizzler steakhouse, and this is how I remember it. I went into the bathroom. I wonder if I could even reach the urinal. I don't remember. I just remember going in there, and another kid, same height, asking me, "Are you Gary Sudbrink?" or something to that effect. And they said yes. And I remember there was an adult in the room because I remember him being real tall. And that's it. And I don't know why I still remember that. I don't even know why I still remember it to this day. I should have forgotten it, you know. Like, why would I still remember that? I have no idea. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, like you said, I mean, the things that you do remember are the things that have the most,
Yeah.
or that had the most impact on you at the time. Now, when I looked at the duration of each call in sequence and counted up each audible time the entity was heard on the line, each time it seems to be shorter than the last, both in terms of duration, frequency, and, as you could hear, audibility as well. But on the next evening, the same caller returned. Now, here in this fourth call, the entity's voice is at full force and it's back up in frequency like the very first night that it called in call number 1. Had it been recharged? Here we have evidence of this low energy notion that is frequently reported in encounters with these MIB. You'll hear on the line Gary, his father, and his Uncle Tom.
Yes, this is me. Can I speak to you? Can I ask why you're... Yes, can I ask why you're calling? Can I please ask... Yes, this is. Yes, that is me. Say that again?
This planet.
Leave?
We come
I'm staying right here.
to be within this planet.
Is this a joke or what?
To many. To be contact. As the same with you.
I have to think about that. I'd like to see you.
To many. To be contact. As the same with you.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been listening to you, and I've had contacts with you.
Beware. Government interference.
Government interference? You have? Please explain what type of interference.
Beware.
Okay.
Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
sun will rise from the dark side of the moon.
Okay, what branch of the government? What should I do?
Beware. Government interference. Visitations to be disrupted by them.
Okay. Is that good for me or bad? They hung up.
Yeah.
So that was call number 4. That was the final call you ever received from this entity.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
At this point, you're probably talking about it with your uncle, your father, for quite some
Yeah.
time. What are you guys making of it? What do you remember of those conversations?
Just trying to figure things out, because my uncle he used to go when he was working for the New York City Fire Department. He would go up to the roof and look for like strange things flying around.
Really?
So, yeah. He said he did. Yeah.
Did he ever see anything?
So, kind of interesting that he would have that interest too. So yeah. It was that kind of discussion and kind of like we're having now type thing.
And to those of you who've just listened to this, that voice that gets on the telephone, it says, "Hey, let me tell you something." That's your uncle. That's his voice that we hear. What I find interesting is right after he comes on the line, that's when the entity then says, "Beware government interference." Did your uncle ever work for government?
No, he always worked for the New York Fire Department.
Interesting. Just find that very peculiar that it wasn't until he gets on the phone that the entity mentions that.
So to me, it sounded like in response to my uncle, in the conversation, and it probably seems that way to you, then that even confirms what I was thinking,
Right. The sun will rise on the dark side of the moon. That's really confusing.
Yeah, I know. When I was in San Antonio, I was discussing that with one of my friends, and he was thinking it related to a solar eclipse, like something to do, because you got the sun behind the moon and stuff like that, which kind of makes sense to me. I don't know. I don't know. What the hell does that mean, right?
But then what? It seems like very explicit instructions to you, that they're coming to be within this planet, to visit the many, to be contacted as the same with you. And it just keeps repeating this.
Yeah. So within means like underground bases or something,
Possibly. I mean,
that's what I think. Yeah.
But what's just weird is this is this type of stuff that you would expect to hear from contactees, from abductees. And if you don't consider yourself that,
well, I don't have any memories of it. I mean, if anything did happen, I don't have any memories of it at all. I guess it's possible. I just don't remember it.
your uncle, your father, your brothers, they haven't shared anything with you that would give you reason to believe that perhaps they are a contactee or an abductee, right?
No, only the incident with the helicopter when my younger brother was there. My uncle and my dad in West Virginia, and that's about it. But as far as my older brother and my younger brother, is only when my younger brother was at the house and he saw the helicopter. Other than that, yeah, there's nothing.
And in this phone call, this final call, we hear like a whirring type of sound, like a tape rewind. People would think, oh, this sounds like a recording. Maybe this isn't like an intelligent entity. Maybe this is just a recording being played back to you. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's times where it seems interactive too. So, but I don't know. It's kind of weird, I really don't know what to make of it. Like, the whole thing is weird.
what I've noticed in interviewing you and talking with you over the years, you seem to have a really good memory about certain details. But then when it comes to recalling other things, it's like there's a big blank.
Well, yeah, you know what it is certain things make a big impact, and then I think about it more often over time. I think that's why, as opposed to like other stuff that I don't think significant, and then I'll forget it the next day.
Yeah, because I know that there will be people listening to this that think, "Oh, well, his memory's all off." You're leading him on with all this stuff. But
No, especially when something significant happens, you talk about it, and then you talk about it a lot over periods of time, and it reinforces your memory on it. At least significant stuff. Yeah.
and I remember when I first interviewed you, and to get all the details of everything, our discussions, it wasn't just a once and done conversation, right? It was like
Yeah.
it continued for a long period of time. And that's what I always do with people that I interview is I always tell them, look, this is an open-ended conversation, just anything that you can remember, anything significant at all, just send me an email, shoot me a message. Let's do another phone call. Let's talk about this, because I think there is importance to some of these events that transpired after this and even before.
Now that you mention it, when my mom had cancer, that was another stressful time, right? And this was 2000. Yeah. Wait, 2001. Yeah, 2001. And yeah, so my dad and my mom come back from the doctor's office, and they told me that when I got there, the doctor said, "Oh, I don't know what the time period was. Your daughter called, said she was a nurse and wanted to know how your renal function was." So who would know? First of all, who would know who her doctor is, right? And I don't have any sisters, so there's no your daughter called, right? So it couldn't be your daughter because I don't have any sisters. That would be the daughter. Anyway, they said, yeah, so that's strange. And we tried to figure out, we asked everyone, did you call, like my brother's wife and all that stuff. And we never found out who that was. And who would even know? I mean, to know who our doctor is.
Wait, explain this again. You guys, who called who again?
Somebody called my mom's doctor.
And what did they tell her?
This is what the doctor related to her, my parents. He said to them, your daughter called saying she was a nurse, basically, right? And wanting to know how my mom's renal function was.
And that was it.
Yeah. Which is weird because we don't know who and how would they get her to know who her doctor is. And the whole thing's weird. I mean,
what did that doctor share that information with the caller?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, all I know is this is what I was told. So, but other than that, I don't know anything else. Like what happened? Yeah.
What happened after that?
I mean, as far as weird, nothing.
Because we've never talked about this before, so this is brand new to me. So,
I thought I told you now. Oh, okay.
During this situation, when your mom is battling this, did she overcome it, or not?
It was a bile duct cancer, but she wound up getting an infection from a pressure sore and passing away from septicemia, blood infection, and that was in December of 2001.
Do you remember the approximate time when your doctor or when her doctor gets this strange phone call? Was it several months later or several days later? Or?
I think it would probably be like around 6 months before, somewhere about that. Maybe less. I mean, but that's just a pretty good guess, I think.
Yeah, that's particularly unnerving.
Yeah.
That someone would be posing as not only your sister that doesn't exist, that never existed, but also claiming to be her nurse.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so weird. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it's one of these things like, I don't know. It's like, why did it even happen? I mean, it's not like changing anything.
All right, let's shift gears. Talk to me about the Blue Tote incident.
Yeah, so I was in. This is when I was in the pharmacy, like when I was starting out, and we get these totes deliveries, and I was closing one of the totes. I don't know if you ever seen them. They got these like teeth that alternating teeth that close together.
Yeah, they're like the plastic bins that kind of
Yeah,
like collapse on one another on the. Yeah, I know what you're
yeah.
talking about.
So I was closing one of those, and it snapped on my finger. And the tech next to me, she says, "Did you see that?" I said, "Oh, I was looking at the tote. I wasn't looking anywhere else." I said, "No, I didn't see anything." And she said, "A blue beam shot across the wall, right across the wall, I guess horizontally." And the odd thing about it is the tote was blue. And it happened just when I snapped on my finger.
Well, let me ask you this. At that particular pharmacy, had any other strange things happen
No,
there?
no, nothing.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, what did she say then afterwards when you told her that you didn't see that? What do you remember her reaction being?
She was just, she couldn't believe it. It was, like seeing Bigfoot or something.
No kidding.
But yeah, I mean, not much happened after that. I mean,
It's these weird moments in your life, right, that take place very randomly.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I just want to stress to the audience, to the listener that your experiences are not just centered on the strange phone calls.
No,
This is a
yeah,
lifetime of experiences that have happened not just to you but to your whole family.
yeah,
And this is what makes the phenomenon so peculiar, right?
yeah,
There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just these random events take place. Are they connected? Possibly, but maybe they are just random. And for whatever reason, they just happen to your family. But I bring that up because there was one particular show, a program that aired, in 2023 on one of the big networks. I'm not going to say what show it was because honestly, I don't think they did a particularly good job of presenting your case, but but I'm sure, those of you who are listening, who are really adamant in finding it, you can, stumble upon it. But I remember when they reached out to me and they expressed interest in your case, but they thought that those phone calls, that those recordings were mine, but I said no, they're not. And I stressed to them, look, I don't want you just to play the phone calls. Like, you have to interview the witness. You have to get the full story. And I stress to them, make sure you cover the entire story of what Gary experienced, not just the calls themselves, but the events leading up to and even long before the calls, so that the audience has a better understanding of how this high strangeness operates. But of course, they didn't. They did exactly what I think we were afraid they'd do, right? They just featured excerpts of some of the calls, which kind of takes it out of its proper context. But anyway, this particular network show, they featured a portion of your case, and then they brought in their panel of experts, and I'm using the word experts lightly here, who apparently came to the conclusion that the calls were not the result of some other entity, but rather you. That it was your voice pranking yourself. So let's
yeah,
address that first and foremost, because this theory has been put forth before that it could be your voice. Because when you speed up the recordings, they do somewhat resemble your voice. And some have suggested that it is you using something like a Talkboy recorder, which was, yes, it was popular at that time, which could slow down the recorded voice. But, how do you address this? I mean, was this you pranking yourself?
no, because I would have to get somebody involved to call me. I couldn't just call myself, right? Like if I was faking it, I would have to have somebody call my family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So,
So somebody else would have to be involved. Couldn't just be just me alone.
the expert that they brought in, one of them was a professor, right? He was a forensic audio analyst.
Yeah,
And he said that the words are identical and how they're repeated. He said, the voice is reminiscent of you, but I'm sorry, it doesn't sound like a clear match with your voice at all. I mean, they played back your voice on the phone interacting with this entity, and then they played the entity's voice sped up and adjusted on pitch, and it isn't a 100% match. It's slightly off.
He said it was his subjective opinion, you know.
Right, that's true. He even stated, quote, "We can't get 100% accuracy out of that single recording, but my subjective determination is that Gary recorded this and played the voice back at a slower rate to make the deceptive Men in Black voice," end quote. Keyword being subjective, meaning
Yeah.
his opinion, not his conclusive fact. And I don't think that's fair.
No. I mean, and the other stupid thing is that they left out the whole background. I mean, it's just so stupid. The whole background series of events were just as important as the phone calls. I mean,
They were. And that's why I wanted to do this episode, because this episode puts those calls in proper context. And we cover the events leading up to them, what happened during them. What the listener has heard now is the calls in their entirety, not just clips of them. And we've explained everything as you remember it. And the other thing, too, is I've talked with you a lot over the years about this experience, and your story doesn't change. It's exactly the same as when you told
yeah.
it to me day one. And you didn't, I'm not the only person you've told this story to, but on the show, they mentioned that you sent your calls to news channels and a private investigator, but
I,
that wasn't accurate, was
I
it?
don't know where they got that from. Like news channels. I mean, they're the stupid. Like, who's going to call a news channel? I don't know where they got that information from.
Well, who did you send this to? You sent this.
Well, what I told them when I was on the phone, well, not only that, but I tried to tell them that besides the background to this story, I said this also happened, very similar incident to Kiel, you know. And then I said the first time my dad called Linda Howe, she's an investigator, not the news station or something, you know.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know who Linda Howe is, her name is Linda Moulton Howe. She's a researcher. She's an investigator into this, but she's not a private investigator, as far as I understand
No,
her
yeah.
profession to be.
So I don't know how they that turned into a news station, you know, or something.
Yeah, that kind of frustrates me. And then the other thing that was brought up during this show is another one of their experts, this aviation guy. He says that, quote, "Nothing in the calls is suggestive of the MIB," end quote. Well, my question is, how many people has he interviewed? Because, I beg to differ. The mechanical nature of the calls is similar to others that I've interviewed over the years who have encountered these MIB face to face. So, I mean, again, that's a subjective opinion that their expert is putting forward. Um, it's really, I just don't think that that episode did your case justice. I wish that they would have played all of the calls in their entirety, put them in the proper context, because I think other people out there have experienced similar things. And if we go back to the whole history of the MIB, which they brought up, they said that the MIB story originated in 1947 with Harold Dahl and the Maury Island incident. Well, that's debatable because the Maury Island incident is very much debated as fact or fiction. Sure, Dahl claims he was visited by a man in a black suit, but later on, Dahl admitted his story was a hoax. So did it really begin in 1947, or did the real MIB reports begin in 1952 with Albert Bender, who had experiences with shadowy figures reminiscent of these Men in Black types who were observing him? The reason why I bring up Albert Bender is his experiences with these shadowy figures began with a phone call too. And a lot of people who are involved in the MIB phenomenon, who are investigating UFOs, who are investigating high strangeness events, they too get strange phone calls. And I think a lot more of the people listening to this particular episode may have even experienced it at some point or know of somebody who experienced it at some point, this strangeness centering around the telephone.
Yeah, because actually Jack Sephardi is one of the people who, when he was younger, got one phone call. I don't know if you know that story.
Yeah, why don't you discuss that one?
I don't know too much about it, but he said it was some kind of computer that called him, and something to that effect. And I forget what the topic was. And
There's a lot of these interactions with the telephone, and I just think that we need to put our subjective opinions aside in what we think the phenomenon is and how we think it should operate and what modus operandi we think or expect it to have. It may not be any of that. We just need to look at these events in their entirety and talk with witnesses, experiencers, get the whole breadth of their experiences and learn about maybe some of these commonalities, some of these similarities, some of these traits that one case could share with another case. There's a lot more to this.
yeah, because the phenomena can reach out any way it wants, and people think just because it reaches out through this communication system, a phone, doesn't mean they're actually picking up a phone and calling. It could access the system some other way. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the what the show came to the conclusion of their final assessment rather. The show's host on this episode stated, quote, voice comparison is not an exact science, end quote. Then he goes on to say, quote, without more evidence, we can only say this is a possible hoax, end quote. Again, this is not conclusive. This is possible. This is subjective.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was unfair how they said that they reached out to you and you maintained the authenticity of the recordings.
Yeah. And you know what's weird is that one of the guys, the first one I think, the first guy they interviewed said that, well, like he's an expert in the Men in Black. He's like, all they do is threaten people. So if the discussion isn't a threat, like threatening, then it's not real.
Yeah, and that's one of those misconceptions about the whole Men in Black phenomenon. And I even hate to use that term Men in Black because I have a lot of reports. They're not necessarily in black. These are just strange people reports. These are strange interactions with strange individuals who exhibit a lot of tendencies that are similar to the stereotypical Men in Black thing. But I think what we're dealing with here is a much broader phenomenon that I think a lot of people will overlook because they're looking for this stereotypical man in a suit, dressed with a fedora and the sunglasses, because that's what we've come to expect, rather, when it comes to this. But that's not the case. And you never saw these guys. This is just your thought, that these could be Men in Black, but you don't know, right? I mean, these were just weird phone calls.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of what Keel happened to Keel. That's why I was thinking it's the Men in Black, because all that stuff he was dealing with, and the similarity is incredible.
Yeah, John Keel wrote a lot about this in the Mothman prophecies, and he dealt with it while he was investigating instances of the Men in Black happening in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. This is a very strange subject, but I'm glad that we're talking about it, and I'm glad that you instinctively had the right mindset to push record on the answering machine, or else we wouldn't be talking about this, right? We wouldn't
Yeah.
have some sort of evidence that we could look at. Well, going back to pranks and stuff, if somebody had duped your voice, it would have to be someone else. But do you think there could have been the possibility of someone else pranking you that you were completely unaware of?
No, I don't see how, because it was related to the phone call to my friend Mike. I mean, who would even know that I called Mike, and the timing of it was perfect. Waited me for to find out.
That's a very good point, Gary, because I want to remind the audience the calls started when you were already on the phone with your friend Mike, who was already talking to you about some caller who had called him, who was impersonating you.
Yeah, and that was the previous day too. And then immediately, as I'm just before I'm going to hang up, I get this call waiting comes in, and it confirms everything we just discovered. Like it's just saying yes. Yeah, I mean it's just weird.
But the show never covered that. They
No,
took the calls completely out of context. They didn't go into the details that we, went into earlier in this conversation. But that's why I'm putting this episode forward, because I think it's important for people to understand that the experiences that individuals go through on a daily basis, it's not just that one event. We have to look at multiple events. Perhaps they are connected, perhaps they are related, but we need to kind of do more as investigators and as researchers to look at these things, to kind of connect some of these dots. And maybe it'll give us a clue.
those two guys I met at the airport, somehow they're significant too. I don't know how the hell they're significant, but I know they're somehow. And that god darn helicopter scenario too that happened when I was in San Antonio. So, all that stuff,
Well, look, I've known you for a while now. I've known about this story for a while now. You haven't anything to gain by sharing this with everyone. In fact, you've got a lot more to lose by sharing it. So, if it is a hoax, then my friend, you do a darn good job of acting and pretending that you're pissed. But to be honest with you, I've seen you get angry. When this episode aired, we talked on the phone, you were pretty upset. Um, what you hear on the original calls, that's you being genuinely angry and upset.
yeah.
And when I listen to those calls, and when the audience is listening to these calls, I think they too will sense that you're angry, upset, and downright disturbed by it all, which, no disrespect, Gary, you're not really an actor. In fact, what people don't know is that whenever I put the spotlight on you and start recording, you do clam up and you get really nervous. So it's a challenge to try and make sure you're relaxed enough to tell your story. So if the Gary Sudbrink from 1993 is attempting to put on a show, well, then you should really consider becoming a professional actor, because you certainly fooled all of us. But I don't think that's the case. I believe your sincerity in telling this story exactly as it happened back then. And the story is the same as you experienced it and shared it, again, not just with myself, but with Sue Swatek, the Virginia MUFON State Section Director, Linda Moulton Howe, the original investigator you approached about it back then, and even Bud Hopkins, right? Who you
Yeah.
said listened to the calls and thought that they were rather interesting as well. What did Bud say to you?
Well, see, my dad called him, so that's how this got out. Probably none of it would have got out. Probably if he didn't call those, like Linda Howe and Bud Hopkins. Anyway, so Bud Hopkins calls me down to his apartment in Manhattan, and he just started asking me questions like, he showed me these two pictures of this guy, a blonde hair and glasses. Because the descriptions of the two people I met at the airport were pretty significant to him. So he shows me this drawing, and he says, does this look like the guy? And I said, well, his chin wasn't that pointed, the guy with the blonde hair and glasses. And then he asked me like questions like, he might have shown me another picture of the other guy, so he had brown hair. He asked me a question about if you were in bed and there was a giant bee on you, or or a bunch of bees, which would be um, more disturbing to you? Something to that effect, like a giant one or a whole bunch of them.
That's an odd question to ask.
Well, I don't know if it was a bee or something like similar to like if you were abducted, that kind of thing.
Do you think he was getting at this idea that you could be an abductee?
I think he was questioning it. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah, because I have. I mean, if I was, I would certainly have no memory. I don't have any such memory of anything.
Did he discuss any more detail about those drawings that he showed you?
Just a little bit that I can remember. Just asking the similarities between the people I met and some of the experiences from other people that drawings that he had and everything.
Looking back in hindsight, do you think that those, or did you ever get the suspicion that those two men at the airport were human at all?
They seemed perfectly normal to me, like as far as everyday people. I didn't see anything unusual looking about them.
From my own research into the phenomenon, there's this mimicry aspect that tends to be a very overlooked aspect, yet it pops up time and again in the high strangeness experience. And going back to this concept that it could be your own voice, when the calls are taken out of context, sure, this could be an easy conclusion one could make just by hearing excerpts of the call. But I think we're forgetting one extremely important detail about what was said in the calls. The caller says you are being impersonated by the other voice.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so it really wouldn't surprise me that the caller would have aspects that could sound similar to you because something is trying to impersonate you. I mean, Mike, your friend Mike said the same thing when you're on the phone with him. You've had other doppelganger experiences that were witnessed by other members of your family, which we covered, but the show never got into that. You know,
Yeah.
others who I've interviewed about their encounters and interactions with Men in Black types have also had doppelganger experiences, but you never knew that at the time you had your experience.
No.
So, again, this is a weird phenomenon. There's a lot of different aspects to this. There's certainly a trickster aspect at play because confusion, deception, this is something we see a lot in the overall experience.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound friendly to me. You know.
Did you ever feel threatened by the voice?
No, I never felt that way.
Yeah, that's just goes to show you. I mean, they're not all of these interactions with MIB types are threatening. You
If
know,
they were trying to threaten me, it didn't work. So
I mean, it certainly frustrated you, but
it was just more shocking. Like, yeah, and weird. You know.
yeah. Well, if it was a hoax, I honestly don't think you were in on it. Because of the way that you sounded on the calls. In fact, you thought it was your one of your brothers. So let us not forget that.
Yeah.
You stated it as such, but again, the show never got into that.
I mean, if look, I think if anything, if somebody's going to say anything, they would. I mean, to say it was the government, it would be one thing, but it's not going to be some hoax. It was some guy in the street or somebody I know. So who would even? I mean, they didn't have AI technology like they do now, where you can imitate somebody's voice, you know, and so
Yeah, it's a puzzling thing. Well, look, I just wanted to cover that, make sure that, we addressed all of the things with the show. Was there anything else that we missed that they brought up that was just inaccurate or just not true? I think we covered everything there, right?
yeah, yeah, we covered everything. Yeah,
Those of you who are listening, I caution you and urge you to, be careful what you sign up for. Um, when a TV show does approach you, get all the details, try to find out where they're coming from, and most importantly, will they do your case the due diligence in the investigation part that it deserves? Because after all, and like I've told you, Gary, this is not just your experience. This is part of your life story, So you were there, they weren't, I wasn't. I can only take your word for it. The listener can only take your word for it. But at least we have recordings that we can listen to. And
Yeah.
it kind of sets the stage for what you experienced. Just a small sample of what you had experienced in your overall life.
Yeah, I just look at it the way I just put the story out there, and it's just for the people who are open-minded and willing to listen. And other than that, it's just like any other story somebody has. They don't have a physical proof of, like that guy David Grush. I mean, all he can do is tell you what he knows and what he experienced, and you take it or leave it.
Well, thank you again for just, sharing your experience. I think it's important. This is an experience that is very important that we should consider when it comes to ufology and when it comes to just high strangeness in general. I think there's some of you out there who have also had these strange phone calls. And if you have, please let me know about it. Reach out at info@terrasignals.com or go to normalparanormal.org and click the contact form up there. You have been listening to Terror Signals with Justin Bamforth and presented by Normal Paranormal. For more on this show and other topics of high strangeness, please visit normalparanormal.org or visit the program website at terrasignals.com.